Hey there, good evening, and thank you for logging onto the live stream tonight. I'm Trey, Serna. Now, Superintendent Miles will be with us in just a moment to talk about the year ahead, where HISD is right now, where the district is headed, and what it all means for your student. Now, as you may be aware, there's been a lot of change across the district, and we've been sharing a lot of updates over the past few weeks and months. But tonight is really about taking that a step further and hearing directly from you, answering your questions and helping families better understand what all of this means. Now, before we jump in, a few quick reminders. Superintendent Miles will be answering your questions live tonight. Now, we pulled a few questions from parents ahead of time through Parent Square to get us started, but we'll also be taking questions from the YouTube chat. Now, if you want to submit a question, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, then drop your question into the chat, and we ask that you please include your name and your child's school. But without further ado, here is Superintendent Miles. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good to be here, Trey.
Yeah, you know, things are a little different tonight. Usually when you and I talk, and I say this a lot, we talk in the car and we've uploaded these videos to our YouTube channel and whatnot. Yeah. And our conversations always lead about, we talk about our schools. And I've got to see a lot of what's going on in our schools. And, we talk about the future of HISD. And that's what tonight's about. It's about the future of HISD. Next year, a lot of the initiatives we have going on, and I have a question.
And I like those conversations because they're real. I mean, they're raw. They're on the off the cuff and kind of informal, but we get to real information.
And we get to see it all kind of happening in real time. And the reason I wanted to ask this question first, I'm going to take one from parents. I'm also giving time for our families to log on to the live stream right now, so I'm killing a little bit of time here. I want people to log on. If you have a question on a topic that we're talking about, drop it in the chat. But this first question. I remember when I first started here at HISD, I had a lot to kind of catch up on and see the progress that HISD was making, and I got to see that firsthand. I rode along with you, and I got to see this firsthand. We got a question from Martha at Patterson Elementary, and I think this is a great kicking off question here.
Okay.
She wants to know, what is one change that you're most proud of so far, and what is one area you still think needs the most improvement?
Yeah, so, I always feel good when the students are doing well. And so if I'm proud of anything, it's about the students and their ability to read, write, do math at grade level. So we've had huge success by the focus on the quality of instruction and reading and the science of reading, where our students have really grown across the board. I could give a lot of data, but we were below the median average in the nation in reading. Now we're well above, same with math. And so that's a testament to our teachers. I'm very proud of the teachers, the principals, but mostly the students. We're in the STAR exam period right now.
Yes.
And so in the last 2 STAR exams, the students have gone incredibly. We went from 93 A and B schools to 197 in 2 years.
Wow.
We went from 56 F schools to 0. So that shows the increase, and I'm proud of that. What am I concerned about, or what I have to look forward to or think about for the future? I still am worried about year 2030, year 2035 competencies. I'm sure we're going to talk more about that.
And I want to know, what is that? What is that? Because the reason I stopped you, because I remember when one of my first conversations with you said that, and I remember stopping you and being like, what does 2035 mean? Talk to me, especially for our families who are new here. Maybe.
And I'll bet you we get some questions about future too in the future. So what am I worried about? The world's moving fast. The workplace is changing. And we have to think, not only do we have to read, write, and do math, of course that's always going to be essential. That's job number 1.
Yeah.
But there's a job number 2, and that is get students ready for year 2030, year 2035 world and workplace. What does that mean? That means they need different skills like problem solving and decision making, leadership, working in teams, learning how to learn, growing their perspective, working with AI, working with other tools. And those sorts of competencies are really critical. I didn't mention critical thinking, information literacy. So many skills that now in HISD we're teaching some of them, but we got to do more.
Got it. You know what, you said a lot of keywords here that we'll get to a lot of those questions. Yeah. We actually got a question live from our chat right now. This is actually from Ashley. And she wants to know, what specific steps is the district taking to help improve test scores for younger students like mine?
Mm-hmm. So the STAR exam, of course, is 3rd through 10th grade. but there are many things that we're doing in the early childhood grades. So pre-K, kindergarten, first and second. I imagine the person has a child in the early grades. And we do a lot of what we call the science of reading, and that is we focus on decoding, phonemic awareness, phonics. A lot of people will understand it to mean phonics, but we also have a lot of reading so that kids hear good reading, they read the picture books or the books that the teachers are reading to them, and things like that. And then we also assess their ability. Look, I mean, I know people have different views about assessments.
Yeah.
But how are you going to know whether your student really can read if you don't assess them in some way? And maybe you don't like STAR, that's fine. But we also use DIBELS, which is a nationally known test for fluency, reading comprehension, decoding, phonics. And we use that assessment. We have the circle exam. These are well-validated, research-based assessments that tell whether your child is struggling on fluency, struggling on vocabulary, struggling on phonemes, phonemic awareness, those sorts of things. So we do a lot of science of reading and then assessing students so we can identify what the challenge is, and many times it's dyslexia, for example, and then we can address it specifically.
Got it. Thank you, Ashley, for that question. Let's move on here to another topic here, which is still a similar topic. You talked about the future of HIC and Future 2. So we have a lot of questions that came in about Future 2. I'm going to take this one from our Parent Square families. This one is a question from Mario Clavillo. This is actually a longer question, but I'll break it up in a few parts here. But for families who don't know, Future 2, pilot campuses opening next year, C. Martinez and Gregg Elementary, whole new kind of structure and model. And we'll get to that in just a bit. But Mario's question is, could you please explain how Future 2 will be designed for young children, including any grade-by-grade screen use limits, the instructional model for pre-K through second grade, and the developmental safeguards HISD will use. So we can kind of break that up and kind of maybe start with the grade-by-grade screen use.
Yeah, so there, I know there's a lot of conversations about AI, screen use, and things like that. So let me give you the overview of Future 2. And we are considering expanding that even next year to more schools. Because in the end of the day, we need a couple things, like I said. Solid core academic subjects, reading, writing, math, and art of thinking in the morning. So every Future 2 school is in many ways similar to NES, the new education system schools. In the morning, core subjects. We don't use a lot of computers for that. I mean, the demonstrations of learning or the mini quizzes are often taken online, and some of the texts are online, but most of it is done on paper, and the interface is between teacher and student. And that will remain in Future 2. The afternoon is all about hands-on experiences, projects, working in teams, problem solving, decision making, public speaking, debate, and there's lots of different activities that are not really tied to AI. What we're trying to do in the Future 2 in the afternoon is to ensure that students have experiences and activities that will grow their year 2030 skills, like decision making, problem solving. So I'll give you a couple examples. 7th and 8th graders, one of the activities is going to an escape room. But in the escape room, it's not just just going there to have fun, which is, we're not anti-fun. We're going to watch their decision making. First of all, we're going to talk to them about what does it mean to make good decisions in an escape room. What does it mean to work in teams? Those two skills are important in year 2030, year 2035. So we're going to coach them a little bit, then let them do their thing, and then comment on their decision making and problem solving and working in teams capabilities. So there's not a lot of AI. It's getting kids ready to work in an AI enabled world. Now, yes, there's also for the upper grades a course for AI tools and using AI tools. So we're not anti-AI, we're not overwhelmed by AI, there won't be a lot of screen time, but there will be some screen time, and we're not going to apologize for that. kids need a little bit of that if they're going to be successful in the future.
Hearing you talk about this, the comparison you're making, and forgive me if I'm a little wrong here, but when I hear you talk about the AI and the use of it and how we're incorporating it, it sounds a lot, it reminds me a lot of like the late 90s when the internet was new.
Yeah.
And we were trying to incorporate that into our lives. And it's something very, because we want our students to use these tools, but to use them correctly.
Yeah, and I think we're going to find the right balance. Right now, we're actually more geared to non-screen time. Remember, this district, before the law was passed, this last legislative session, had already banned the use of cell phones in schools. So, and then now it's a law.
Yeah.
We also don't, overwhelm our students with a lot of screen time during the day. In fact, people complain that there's too many pieces of paper that they're reading, right? That there's too many packets, and and people bring this paper laden, bunch of packets.
Yeah.
To show that we're overemphasizing it. So I think we're going to find the right balance.
Got it. We have a question from a live chat about this. This is a question from Ashley also. She wants to know, will teachers still be leading instruction, or is AI replacing parts of teaching?
So the main interface now and in the future is teacher-student. And so now I want to be clear, we already, and most school districts already use things like Zern. That's a math program online. And we use that to help kids with who we call them interventions. That means they may have a skill deficit on this one skill, and that's an adapt. I know I'm using these words, but
if I don't understand them, I'll clarify now.
Yeah, it's an adaptive model that helps kids with their individual need, or where they're struggling.
Where they're struggling, yeah.
But that comes after an hour and a half with the teacher, or with the learning coach, or with the teacher apprentice, and that's been our model. So I'm not saying we're not using AI-enabled software. We do use it. We use Zern, we use Amira, we use Course Mojo, Snorkel, and so during the intervention times we're using AI-enabled tools.
Got it. Staying on the topic of Future 2, by the way, if you're just joining the live stream right now, I'm talking live to Superintendent Mike Miles about the year ahead and what we're doing here at HISD. If you have a question about Future 2, you can drop it right now in the chat and we'll try to get to it. But this next question comes from Parent Square. It's from a staff member. His name is Matt, and he wants to know, given all the research about the benefits of play to the development of interpersonal and problem-solving skills, will Future 2 schools incorporate unstructured playtime into the school day?
Yeah, lots of, that's a great question, and the answer is what we do now, we're going to continue to do in Future 2. In other words, elementary students get recess, 30 minutes, so 15 minutes and 15 minutes, and sometimes it's combined to 30 minutes.
When you say what we're doing now, is that what we're doing in NES campuses? Okay.
In elementary schools, there's recess in the schedule. For middle school, they have physical activities or electives. They don't actually have a recess, but they have time that's where they're getting physical activity or yoga, or in fact, in our NES schools, not only do they get an elective every day, twice a week, they're getting also what we call dyad, which is martial arts or piano or photography and other things. In the Future 2 schools, the elementary kids will still have recess, but there is a 2-hour block for all 3rd grade through 8th grade where they're doing just these activities and experiences. And then the last 30 minutes of the day is just physical activity. It might be spin bike, it might be yoga. There'll be some choices for kids, and that's at the middle school. At the elementary, it'll be mostly recess or playtime. And then after that, there are all kinds of after-school activities. So in Future 2, the doors will open at 6:30, and the school day will, the school will end, the doors will close at 6.
Oh, wow.
The actual instructional day, don't worry kids, is not 6:30 to 6. The instructional day is 7:30 to 4.
Those are the building hours.
Yeah, so those, that's a long day too, I get that, but a lot of it will be activities, hands-on and things like that. After school though, if a student wants to stay, there's going to be music, there's going to be sports, and there's going to be art that they can partake.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another question here. Switching gears, not really switching gears. Let's talk about testing though, and how that's going to look maybe at these campuses. Roxana Martinez, Austin High School. Parent wants to know, what are you doing to help our kids prepare for the real world and not just passing exams?
Well, yeah. So let me clarify first. Not just passing exams. Look, we don't spend a lot of time just thinking about passing exams. What we're trying to do is get kids to read, write, and do math and science at grade level.
Core academics.
And those exams assess those skills, but the real work and time and effort is in getting kids to read and the students learning how to read or learning how to learn and doing math and all that. So that's an important part. Look, I think every parent would tell me, look, I want my student to be able to read at grade level. And so that's the job. And that's what we're doing. It can be characterized like, you know, you just want to pass the exam. That's a poor characterization of what we're trying to do. Having said that, we have always had in the NES, New Education System schools, 130 schools, the art of thinking. 90 minutes 3 times a week. There's no exam.
What is the art of thinking?
Yeah, the art of thinking is a course that we've started 3 years ago in the NES schools, 3rd grade through 10th grade, 3 times a week, 90 minutes each time. And what that is problem solving and decision making, critical thinking, and information literacy. There's no state exam, there's no local exam, no national exam for that. But it's that important for a student's learning and knowledge base that we have stuck with it, and it comes at a great cost. I mean, think about all the teachers that we've had doing art of thinking, the time, 3 times a week. It's like a block schedule, the curriculum, the materials, and yet there's no exam for that. In Future 2, to answer the question directly, in Future 2, I just named all the afternoon materials. Yes, you can't just go into the afternoon and just do the activities and not be held accountable for it, but there's no exam for that. We are going to look at whether they show the decision-making skills and the moral judgment and the problem solving, the critical thinking, the framing of problem. We are going to look at that, but at the end of the day, there is no exam for that. It's all activity-based.
Got it. I think you answered this a little bit when you said about the assessment part, but going back a little bit to the NES model, we have another question here from a Wall Street parent. Ashley wants to know, why are students testing every day?
Yeah,
but to your point, that's the assessment part, correct?
Yeah, so there's, I think what they mean by that is we have what's called in the NES orbit, what we call a demonstration of learning. In other words, teachers teach and engage students for 45 minutes, sometimes 50, and then students take a 10-minute demonstration of learning. That's a quiz, and I guess that's a test of sorts. Yeah. And yes, we do that so we can tell whether the student has learned the material. You know, in other schools that are not getting achievement results, they might wait 3 or 4 weeks before they give a quiz.
So it's like a pop quiz, basically. You're going over a lesson and getting a pop quiz to see what you learned right in that
And
moment.
then what happens with that, though, is it's not just a grade, actually. It's if you are successful in that demonstration of learning, you go to the team center and you get harder work, you know, more challenging. You get challenged. Yeah. And if you are not successful on it, that's okay. It's not a grade per se. It's now you need more time with the expert. So, and so that's the teacher is the expert. We're not sending that student who's not proficient to a paraeducator or something. Nothing wrong with paraeducators or subs or anybody else, but here's the expert, and they spend more time with them. So that's the purpose of that test.
Got it. That assessment.
That assessment. Yeah.
Got it. We have some viewer questions coming in right now. Viewer question here: how does HISD plan to support teachers with utilizing AI in the classrooms? How are students prepared for the workforce with technology such as AI?
Yeah, and those questions are really good questions. They're very pertinent. If you look at the literature right now, everybody's worried about too much AI, too little AI. Are there enough technology? You know, is it too much technology?
Yeah.
It's not. So those are the right questions. And here's the answer. We're trying to strike the right balance. We're not going to say, let's not use any AI or AI-enabled tools. First of all, I don't think you can use anything online these days without some AI-enabled. If you go on Google, it's AI-enabled.
It's there already, yeah, the tool's already made, yeah.
Your social media is probably AI-enabled and so forth and so on. So it would be false to say we're not using AI-enabled tools. Everybody is. The question that is asked, I think, is asking about, coursework, other projects that we do online, papers that are written, and things like that. And so we're very conscious of students needing to use their own mind, their own creativity, and being able to write and do math without ChatGPT or things like that. At the same time, and this is the balance you need to strike, we know that down the road, when they graduate, they're going to be entering offices and competing with other colleagues who understand AI tools, who do good prompt engineering and framing of problems using AI. And if they haven't had any experience with that, they will be at a disadvantage. So is there a way that we can, ensure that kids read, write, do math, and do those core subjects and those year 2030 competencies I'm talking about without using AI, but be able to have the skills to use AI in the future? And can we make sure that our high school students also have some facility with AI tools? They should be able to, at the high school level, use ChatGPT or some other AI platform to research a problem, frame a problem, get analysis of a problem, make their own decisions, use problem-solving steps and decision-making skills to come up with their decision, not AI's decision.
See, when you break it down like that, I think families or parents who are not familiar with AI think it's just going to do it for my child.
Oh yeah, no.
And we're not, and it's...
No, it can't. I mean, if it does, your child isn't learning. Moral judgment, decision-making, problem-solving, framing the problem, those are human capabilities that we need to strengthen.
I think, I think there's even adults could get use out of this, because I think all of us are trying to figure out how to use AI properly in this sense. Very good. Another question here. We're getting some questions in from the chat. Again, if you're just hopping onto the chat right now, we're talking live to Superintendent Mike Miles. You can drop your question in the chat. Right now we have one. What is the district's plan to ensure that all students are reading on grade level by 3rd grade? And I think we talked a little bit about this already.
Yeah, no, these are the right questions, because these are the things we struggle with, right? 3rd grade is a key linchpin. It's a nexus point, because up into 3rd grade you're learning how to read, and after 3rd grade you're reading to learn. And so you're learning to read, and then after 3rd grade you're reading to learn. So what we're doing is we're starting early. We have good phonics and science of reading programs for our pre-K. We're trying to get as many kids into pre-K as we possibly can. We're strengthening our literacy programs for 1st and 2nd grade. And we are looking at very closely when a student is in the bottom 20%.
Okay.
The bottom.
You were going to use some jargon I wasn't going to understand for a second.
And so we're doubling down on that, and we're spending a lot more time. Look, I mean, there's all these other competencies, but at the beginning, you need literacy and numeracy more than anything else.
Yeah.
So we're doubling down on the amount of reading that kids are doing, decoding. We call it decoding, but parents may understand it as phonics early on. So, and we're going to be doing even more in the coming year.
Wonderful. As we talk about Future 2, and we've talked about it right now, the NES model, Sharon from Baker Montessori, she's a staff member, wants to know, do you want all schools to become NES?
No. We closed, I think, 8 NES schools or 9 NES schools for next year, right? And so, and then we've just added, I think, 9. So we're going to be at about the same number, 129, I think, NES schools. I think that is where the sweet spot for the district right now. There may be schools down the road, not in the near future, PUA schools that want to be NES. There may be a couple NES schools that want to leave NES orbit, and that's okay too. But so I think we'll be at equilibrium, balance, with 129 NES schools. I said before, and you know, the audience may know that the board authorized 4 1882 partnerships this year, so that they have full autonomy over the instructional program and everything. And we have defined autonomy. NES is not the right school for every kid. There are other programs that serve kids, different kids better. And so we should keep that in mind. NES has really helped serve kids who are challenged by poverty or language barriers, or who are just academically behind. And NES has been great for those kids. And if you watch HISD now, and I've seen you on it,
yes.
you see the kids on your program, and the teachers and the parents that all say, this is great. And by the way, this is just a personal story, Kroger's. I go to Kroger's, and there's a Kroger's on 11th Street, and Shepherd.
I know, exactly what you're talking about, right across the street from Hamilton. Right,
And there's a guy that works there, and he's the grandfather, and I was there Saturday, and he came up to me and said, "You're Miles, right?" And I go, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, thank you, because my grandson, who's a handful, has learned to read in the last couple of years," and
that's
so
wonderful.
he was really happy about that.
And
I know that's just an anecdote, but you know, whenever I go to Kroger's or somewhere, I get met a lot by people who are happy about what their kid is doing.
Yeah, you know, and this is actually a great question we got in just right now in the chat. Aubrey wants to know, there still seems to be some students during the pandemic that are still having issues with math and reading. What are we doing to address those children specifically to get them back on track? That's a great question. Thank you for that one, Aubrey.
It is a great question. That reminds me too, you know, I like to brag about our kids and our teachers. We still have a ways to go, okay? Yes, we've had incredible growth and achievement, and we're beating the national average now, but you know, until we're at 70 or 80 percentile for reading and math, we shouldn't be happy about that. We should keep working, and then when we get to the 70th or 80th percentile, we shouldn't be happy until we get to 90th. The bottom line is, yes, there are a lot of kids who are still struggling. What are we doing about that? You're going to see we keep improving the curriculum. We keep differentiating. That's meaning we provide different supports for different levels of kids. Okay. I mean, they all get, we call it tier 1. They all get grade level instruction first, every kid, with what we call scaffolds or supports. And then we differentiate. And now, next year, you're going to see the students who are and unfortunately, we have some middle school students who still can't decode, meaning they have a hard time pronouncing words, and meaning reading, you know, what a word means, because they also can't decode it. So we're going to take our bottom 20% of students, and after their tier 1 supports, we're going to provide them with very specific science of reading supports. And so you're going to see that next year, and that's our mission, that our lowest performing readers still need yet more interventions, even basic things like phonics. And we're going to provide that.
Got it. Thank you, Aubrey, for that question right there. Going back, you mentioned 1882. I want to talk about that a little bit more, because I know in the board meeting you talked about the earned autonomy. The levels change a little bit. If you could expand on that a little bit to let families know kind of what that means. And also, we'll add a question to that. This is from Kate. She's a Red Elementary parent, and she wants to know, when will campuses and parents be alerted where their school falls on the earned autonomy spectrum?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Both persons.
Kate, yes,
yeah. We put in, well, let me back up. When I got here, we had 274 schools, mostly acting autonomously and independently. They could pick their own curriculum, their own budget. I mean, they had a budget and they can spend it the way they want, their class schedules. they could focus on instruction or not focus on instruction, and any number of things. And so when you have autonomy just given without having it earned, then you have great variability of outcome, meaning the outcomes are wide, some high, some low.
Vastly different.
Some schools, yeah, vastly different.
Yeah.
Some schools doing well, some schools doing not. So I pulled back the autonomy on instruction and instructional practices, on curriculum, on the curriculum for the NES schools. And now we're at a point where, and we did this the first year, we had defined autonomy, and schools had different levels of autonomy based on their accountability scores. Now we're giving even more autonomy, and you'll find out about the new earned autonomy framework when the accountability scores come out this year.
Okay.
So the preliminary accountability scores will come out in June, and then I think they call it the second preliminary in July, and then the final one in August. So we'll base our earned autonomy framework, schools' autonomy level in June.
Wonderful. Martina, similar question. Martina, 1882 question. Mind you, if you're just joining the live stream right now, I'm talking live with Superintendent Mike Miles about the year ahead. We're talking about a lot of topics. We're taking questions live in the chat right now. If you have a question about 1882 partnerships, drop it in the chat and we'll try to get to it. But this one comes from Martina. She's an HSPVA parent. Will the school with more autonomy be allowed to alter their school calendar?
Yes. So and let me just make sure that's probably in their performance contract, and I think that that the calendar is in their performance contract. So 1882 partners like HSPVA now is one of the 4 schools that has an 1882 partnership. Their board of directors signed a contract with our board of managers, and that contract outlines all the autonomies. And I'm pretty sure, and maybe somebody can research it real quick, that the calendar is in the performance contract, meaning they could change their calendar. Now what they can't change is they probably, if it doesn't match up with our school year and they want busing, then they're going to have to pay for those, that extra busing. But I think that is the case.
Switching gears a little bit, we're still talking about a lot of the change that we're going on. And you touched on this a little bit also, but it was about some school closures. We have a question here from Christina Clark. She's from Clifton Middle School and wants to know, why do any of the schools have to close down and students have to attend other campuses?
Yeah, something that I and other superintendents and elected boards have tried not to do is not to close schools. But you know that across the country and even locally, lots of districts have had to close schools. Why would we have to close any schools? Over the last 25 years, I think this district has lost 25, almost 30,000 students, last 20 years. I think we've lost 30,000 students in 20 years or something like that. It's a large number of students that have been lost. And we still have the same number of schools, since 2012, I believe. So with a lot of enrollment decline and without an investment in the infrastructure of schools. So elementary and middle schools have not had an investment in their facilities, a bond, since 2007. So that's 19 years ago.
Yeah.
And so not only did we have students moving out of an area, and HERC, this is a research organization from Rice, did a board presentation just 2 or 3 weeks ago on demographic shifts. So students are families are moving out of the east side, central east side and north, and they're moving outside the city. Low birth rate, we have low birth rate. Immigration policy has affected enrollment a little bit. So when you have underutilized buildings that are really old, and let's say you have 170 kids in a building that was designed for 800, 900 kids, that is cost ineffective. You can't you're pulling from all the other kids and schools to subsidize these small schools. And so at some point you have to close the building. It's also like a car. At some point, an old car, you can keep changing the transmission, or the carburetor, or any number of things that keep falling apart because it's old.
Yeah.
And at some point, you have to stop throwing good money after it because it's going to break down. And then you've just thrown money away. So that's why. And I get it. I resisted for 3 years. I didn't want to bring it to the board.
Yeah.
Even though the first question I got when I got here was, are you going to close schools? Because the elected board had a list of schools that needed to be closed.
So it had been a topic for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a topic for a long time, and we avoided it, but now it's unavoidable.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Christina, for that question. Sticking on that same theme, Viridiana Banda, she's a Seguin parent, and she wants to know, can you share the expected student-to-teacher ratios after consolidation, and what supports will be in place if class sizes increase?
Yeah, so we have average numbers, and we staff based on that. So in the elementary grades and the early grades, we staff 1 to 22, unless it's a special needs class, of course, and then it's a lot lower. Kindergarten and pre-K are lower than that. In the 3rd through 8th grade, it's 1 to 25. High schools are also about 1 to 25, but it really depends on the course, like PE or choir or something like that. So the answer to the question is, if more kids come to the school, then we will add teachers. But we're going to try for 1 to 25 ratio. That's what we try to do. If you look at all of our schools, there may be some schools here and there just because it's an odd number, and there might be 28 kids in this classroom, but in general, we're well below 25 kids per teacher. Well below that.
Let's talk about our teachers for a bit. We've got a question from Liliana. You know what, Liliana Mendoza. She's a Sharpstown International parent, and she wants to know, why do you keep replacing experienced teachers with non-certified teachers? I know this has been a big topic.
Yeah, it's a big topic. Look, we focus on how effective a teacher is. And certification matters in the early years, yes. But what really matters for a student and for a school is whether the teacher is effective. And so our goal is to retain our highest performing teachers. And we have done that. Our proficient level, so we have a range of teachers, right? The exemplary, we call it proficient 2, more than proficient. We have proficient, we have progressing 1, and then we have unsat. Our proficient teachers, 84% of them were retained last year. Certification, non-certification, if you're proficient, you can teach here. Now, in the future, we can talk about state law that requires a person to teach a course subject has to be certified. But right now, it's if you're proficient, we retain you, and 84% have been retained. If you're more than that, it's 90-some%. And 95% of our exemplary teachers are retained. So we are retaining the teachers that can serve the students best instructionally. Okay. And so uncertified teachers, we try to get certified teachers. There's a shortage of certified teachers, but we have a model that has worked really well, bringing in uncertified teachers, giving them 2 years to get certified, but coaching them up right away.
The Grow Your Own program.
We have the Grow Your Own program, okay. Yes, okay. And if they are new or inexperienced, they can also get their certification from outside. Okay. But the point is, we do on-the-job coaching, and we bring them up to speed right away. And in most cases, I guarantee you, you come in October to an NES school or PUA school, and you put 2 teachers, a new teacher who's certified and an uncertified teacher, and you won't be able to tell the difference because we coach them up right away. That's why we're able to get good scores and outcomes anyway. in the end of the day, I think the parent wants a teacher who is effective and can help their kid learn, and also relate to the kid, of course, and and support the kid, and that's what a parent wants. And if the child is happy and reading at grade level because of this teacher, my gut says that that parent is not as concerned about whether that teacher's certified or not. They're concerned that the kid can read.
Yeah. Same topic. This is from Ben Luke, T.H. Rogers, and I think you answered a little bit of this already, but what specific plan do you have to address teacher retention and restore confidence among parents and students in the district?
Yeah, I think you're going to see retention go up because we have been coaching our teachers. We pay the highest salaries in the state. We only had 2 vacancies at the start of the school year. That's never reported, by the way. I say it all the time, though. And so teachers are flocking to HISD, and I think confidence comes from success and how you treat the kid. And so I think the more they see that our highest performing teachers are staying, and year after year it just gets better, I think confidence is built when students can read, just like that parent I was talking about that saw me Saturday, or he was grandfather, but he has all kinds of confidence. He didn't ask me about whether the person's certified or not. He was just happy that his kid can read, his grandson can read.
Yeah.
So I think as we retain more teachers and more experienced teachers, I think that's when the confidence will come back.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that. This is a question now from Elizabeth Conte of Garden Oaks Montessori. This is kind of a long question here, but this is going back to talking about how we measure our schools. Why is the STAR test the only metric used for rating schools? What if it does not capture important features like student-teacher-parent satisfaction, student self-motivation and creativity, desirability of the school in the eyes of the community, teacher retention, and other tangible and non-tangible factors that impact learning and success? Kind of a long question there, but just why we...
It's a fair question, and it goes back to questions about assessments and what schools are for. Look, we actually measure a lot of those things. We actually monitor a lot of those things. In other words, not just the academics. We have put in place programs and activities for kids, even with rigorous instruction. So, for example, karate, photography, piano, and we also assess parent sentiment. We did one in December, if you remember. And so we are looking at those other things. We look at like the waiting list at some of these schools, or enrollment at schools. And so parents are satisfied with 84% of the parents in this district would recommend their school to another parent. So that's a very high percentage. That's from the December parent sentiment survey. But still, let me address the really unstated part, and that's the assessments. We're doing way more than assessments. I mean, I know we're in the assessment season. Yes, it's important for us to meet our accountability goals.
Yeah.
But in the end of the day, if you were to hear me talk to principals and executive directors of instruction, we talk about, in the end of the day, it's not the assessment. It's whether kids can read. And that's important. And by the way, of all the things, that's probably job one. I mean, we can ask, what are schools for? And we can differ because the profession and parents and educators have all differed themselves on what schools are for.
Yeah.
And we can say it's so that we build better citizens. Okay, that's important. We can say so that kids, have different experiences. Okay, that's important. But job number one is teaching them what other institutions can't do. There's no other group out there that teaches a large body of kids how to read. There are small groups that do specialty things, but as far as teaching 170,000 kids how to read, there's only districts do that. To do math at scale, only districts can do that. As far as, I believe in good character and modeling and helping kids with what we call habits of success. But in the end of the day,
What success? I'm sorry.
Habits of success.
Habits of success. Gotcha.
Like being on time, taking responsibility, being respectful, those things. And we're teaching our kids that too. But there are other groups that also should support that, right? Parents, church members, athletic coaches, all of these other groups. You know, there was a time when your neighbor would call that out.
Yeah.
You know, if a kid was disrespectful to another kid or another adult,
yeah.
you know, somebody on the street would say, you know, you're a kid, don't do that. So, again, back to what is job one? We want to do all these other things, but for sure, reading, writing, math, science at grade level, that's job one.
Got it. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that question right there. Switching gears a little bit, let's, and you've talked about this as well too, about the experiences that students will have in our future two schools. Uma Wang from West U wants to know, can HISD provide a more flexible schedule for students who learn music instruments, competitive sports, professional skills, etc., like a systematic homeschool guidance or standards to guide the parents?
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer because I don't know what we provide right now for our homeschool.
Virtual launchpad. I mean, we have that coming up.
But as far as homeschool parents, I don't know what we provide. I do think there's access to curriculum, but I'm gonna have to get back to the person. But there's lots of flexibility in our school for the way kids learn. So right now you have different programs. You have in many of our choice schools, we have the largest, most rigorous choice program in the state. And so students can choose to be in different schools where they can focus on music or performance arts. In our future two schools, we have music as a requirement, so and that's after school. So there's lots of different things. We have our virtual school. So if you
virtual launchpad?
Virtual, it's called Virtual Launchpad. That's for 9th and 10th graders. It'll expand next year, where they can learn and graduate. Take most of their courses online.
But they're still
synchronously.
They're still tied to a campus, though,
Yes.
right? They can work from wherever.
They can work from a school. Most of it is either online or what we call synchronously. So they're watching an actual teacher and doing the work of the classroom.
Okay, I got
That's
you.
called synchronous learning.
Okay.
In any case, there are those options, and then there's just so many other options. There is homeschool, there's vouchers, there's private school, there's charter schools. So there's lots of options for parents.
Got it. Thank you for that. Uma, thank you for that question. Nada Rajan has a question from Briar Meadow. She's a parent there and wants to know, this is kind of a broad question, what are the most important changes families should expect next school year, and how will those changes directly improve student outcomes?
Yeah, I think there's some exciting changes coming on. Some of it has to do with instruction. So we are improving how we provide special ed instruction. It's going to be much better, we believe, more focused on the disability that a student has, and so the quality of instruction will go up. That you're going to see. We've been doing that, but now we're going to take like 2 steps forward instead of 1 step at a time in special ed. Our transportation, we will have student IDs. That's going to provide more efficient service for our kids at a lower cost to the district. So the student IDs will really help. We're going to expand the program of seniors getting a Metro card, or high schoolers getting a Metro card. That's expanding. We are doing the Future 2, which we talked about, which I think is going to be great. We have the level 5, the 4 high schools, having more autonomy. So I think there's lots that's going on next year. Most of it will look very similar, though. For most kids, their experience this year will be the same. Next year will be the same as this year.
Got it. It's hard to believe that we've almost talked for an hour. Can you
No
believe
way.
that? Yeah, I'm looking at the time right now. It's almost we're almost out of time here. But you know
Okay.
what? Let's go ahead and kind of start wrapping things up here. But we've talked so much about what we're going to see the next year ahead and to 2035 and beyond. what can families expect these next few weeks as we wrap up this school year and you know, I mean, it's kind of, we're at the end here. So what can families expect?
Yes,
what's
so the goal, and I tell the principals this all the time, there are right now, let's see, there are 30 school teacher-student contact days until the end of the year, 30.
Oh, wow.
And even though we have assessments thrown in there, STAR exams and NWA exams, the goal is to have high-quality instruction every day a student stands in front of a teacher. Or a teacher stands in front of the kids, I mean.
Yeah.
So high-quality instruction is a goal through June 3rd, I think, or June 4th.
I remember you saying that last year. You're just like, to the very last day, we're going to keep the high-quality instruction going.
That's our job, you know, and I think that's what our parents should expect. It's not a free-for-all. Having said that, there'll be more activities, right? We call them field day in elementary school, field trips for middle school and high school. There'll be more of that. But still, when they're in the classroom, we're talking about instruction till the last day.
There we go. Superintendent Miles, thank you so much for stopping by this evening. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Trey.
No
Good
problem.
conversation.
Yes, great conversation. And thank you. We want to thank all our families also for logging on this evening and joining us for this live stream. Now, if you joined late or you missed any part, this full conversation is going to be posted right here on the HISD Now YouTube channel once we wrap up. We also want to thank all of our parents and families who submitted questions both ahead of time and live tonight. Now, we received more than 100 questions in advance, which really shows how engaged our community is, so we really, really want to thank you. And we know we covered a lot of topics tonight, and we weren't able to get to every question, but our team is working to gather all of those answers, and we'll continue to keep you updated right here on the HISD Now YouTube channel. But that is it for this evening. Again, thank you for joining us, and have a great evening.